Good morning and welcome to Korea Today Live from Seoul.
The first parliamentary audit since President Park Geun-hye took office starts today. It's the largest ever inspection with 630 government offices expected to come under scrutiny.
The ratio of electricity power produced by nuclear power plants will stay below the 30% mark on the year 2035. Details coming up in the headlines. And homegrown private equity funds are seeing a growth spurt. We'll tell you more on In Print.
First, it was Invisible Tower. Now it's Invisible Car. You can see what it is and how it works on Hot Click, so please stay tuned.
He tells teenagers around the world to hold on to their own magic. Adult literature writer Tim Bowler is in Korea to meet with students and pass on his special message. And reaching out to the world through animation characters and the stories they tell. Cultural content rich with Korea's personality is growing in popularity throughout the continents. On Korea Today, Monday, October 14th, 2013.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
Good morning. You're watching Korea Today on a Monday morning.
And happy Monday. Now, the University News Network recently conducted a survey involving about 2,300 university students from around Korea. And they believe, it shows that 38.7% of the university students, they believe that the gap and the conflict between the rich and poor is the biggest problem that Korean society faces today. And when asked what they thought the government was doing well, 39.4% of them, they said the policy toward North Korea, and the least was, or actually what they thought the government was not doing well on, was the economic policy, and an overwhelming 34.1% thought that.
That's right. The survey also asked the respondents who they admire the most, and most of the respondents said UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, Samsung Electronics Chairman Lee Gun-hee, as well as figure skating champion Kim Yeon-na. Now, when asked how many books they read a month, 50% of the respondents said 1 or 2 books, and get this, 30% of the respondents said nothing, 0.
30%, wow.
Read nothing, but it's it's the season of reading, so maybe today start picking up a book and start reading.
Exactly. Fill those minds out there. And it really does help to know what the university students of today think, because they will be leading the nation tomorrow or the day after.
All right, we'll begin Korea Today on this Monday morning with a look at today's headlines.
It will be the largest ever parliamentary audit in Korea's modern history. Starting today, a total of 630 government offices will go under audits this year. That's 73 additional organizations compared to last year. Now, this is what the ruling and opposition parties had to say ahead of this session.
The Saenuri Party will not one-sidedly defend the government's stance, but demand explanations about the government's wrongdoings and aggressively try to make this parliamentary audit one that can lay out bold reform plans.
The Democratic Party will look thoroughly into the Park Geun-hye administration's disorderly acts over the past 8 months and suggest a vision for Korea that will bring about hope to the people, while trying our best to show a fresh type of parliamentary audit.
The Supreme Court, organizations under the Culture Ministry, as well as offices related to the Science Ministry are some of the entities that lawmakers will start examining today. The government is in the process of mapping out the nation's energy policy for the next 2 decades. Private energy advisors and government officials advise the country to lower the ratio of power produced by nuclear energy to less than 30%, a 10 percentage point drop from the existing figures. If the government takes this advice, which many say will likely be the case, it will be a sharp turnaround from the current nuclear power-heavy energy policies set up 5 years ago by the Lee Myung-bak administration. Analysts say the changes were likely made due to the ongoing crisis at Japan's Fukushima nuclear power plant, as well as continuing safety concerns about the nation's aging nuclear facilities. The Japanese government might have intentionally tried to stop the issue of wartime sexual slavery from gaining too much international attention in the early 1990s. This, according to Japan's Asahi Shimbun, the Daily unveiled a diplomatic document dating from 1993, which shows the Japanese government, citing testimony hearings that were going on in Korea at that time, had ordered their embassies in Southeast Asia to avoid conducting any fact-finding investigations or research into the matter. Now, the Daily says Tokyo had tried to handle the matter quickly and contain the issue by dealing with other countries separately from Korea in the face of mounting criticism at the time. Korea has signed a 3-year currency swap deal worth $5.4 billion with the United Arab Emirates. Officials explain this will facilitate Korea's imports of natural resources, as 1/10 of Seoul's crude oil imports last year were shipped from the UAE. And Korea also was able to reach an agreement with Indonesia on signing a currency swap deal worth $10 billion. The currency swap line will expire in 3 years but can be renewed upon agreement. Now, Korea's Finance Minister Hyun Oh-seok, after a meeting with his Indonesian counterpart in Washington Saturday local time, hinted of additional agreements to come, saying Seoul is in talks with a few more emerging countries that are rich in resources and have strong trade links with Korea.
And good Monday morning, everyone. The recurring story on the front pages this Monday is the possible plan to retreat from cheaper nuclear energy on safety concerns. As you just heard in the headlines, we'll go ahead and take a look at the story as it was covered on Joseonilbo. But first, let's soak in the beautiful autumn weather we saw this weekend in Korea via its front page image. A snapshot of fall here, more specifically that of a bicycle parade along the barbed wires of the demilitarized zone. Cyclists took part in this parade on Sunday to mark the 60th anniversary of the ceasefire agreement. The paper calls it a procession of two wheels, hoping for reunification. All right, getting back to the story of the day, the headline below it reads, electricity prices to jump by a maximum 5-fold, highest in 20 years. The article actually has that price hike at a range of 3 to 5 times higher over the next 2 decades if the government does go ahead and implement the recommendation to maintain the ratio of electricity from cheaper nuclear power in the 22 to 29% range through the year 2035. Paper says that translates to a 13 to 21% rise in electricity prices annually. So why? For that part of the story, we'll turn to our next newspaper, 동아일보's front page headline. It reads, safety first, expensive power energy policy pursued. So it seems safety is the reason cited by the paper for this recommendation, given the latest domestic concerns over the nation's aging facilities, as well as overseas concerns from neighboring Japan's Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. Now, should the government implement the recommendation from the Energy Consultation Group, it would mark a sharp retreat from the previous administration's energy policy, as it would likely not build any new nuclear plants aside from those already planned. Now, 중앙일보 also has the story as its top, as you can see there. Its headline reads, nuclear power expansion plan discarded, tighten power demand. More or less similar content there. It says the consultation group suggested tripling new renewable energy to 15% in the next 20 years. Now, we'll leave that story there and turn to the front page of our next newspaper, 경향신문. It has a completely different story as its top story for today, and the headline reads, MB promises no reprimand on Four River project, even if there is error. Adding more fuel to the fire, the paper reports that the former president Lee Myung-bak had promised to not hold responsibility on the project with the Board of Audit and Inspection's involvement prior to going public with the refurbishment project. The statement was included in a document titled Four River Project Inspection Result, and it was released by Justice Party lawmaker Seo Ki-ho. And finally, let's wrap it up with a look at our business newspaper for today. Mail Business Newspaper's main headline reads, "Homegrown PEFs, or private equity funds, change the playing field." Now, the sub-headline goes on to summarize the article, noting the new trend of local private equity funds overtaking foreign-affiliated firms by capturing 90% of the domestic M&A investment pie, with their eyes toward the overseas markets as well. Now, in the past, foreign-affiliated PEFs had monopolized the local market, investing heavily in recognizable companies like the Korea Exchange Bank and CJCGB. But the tide appears to be shifting, especially this year, the article says, as local PEFs have shown remarkable progress. And Mail Business Newspaper found that until the third quarter this year, foreign-affiliated firms only accounted for 9.7% of the investment deals or concluded contracts, adding that not only are local private equity funds capturing their home turf, they are also looking to opportunities overseas, including those from Japan and Europe. Now, the inserted graph shows that growing value of local private equity funds this year, recording some 42 trillion won, or some $39 billion US. That's enough to purchase 72% of Hyundai Motor, it says, an influence that could also alter the ownership paradigm over time. And with that, we'll wrap your look at what's in print on this Monday. Next up are your closing numbers from Friday's market action.
It was pretty hot this weekend, and temperatures are supposed to start dropping starting this week, so we'll have to see.
We're still getting the big, huge gap in difference in temperature between morning and daytime temperatures. So for a look at today's weather, we'll go over to Gwangju in the Gyeonggi province with Dami.
Good morning, Dami.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm reporting live from Gwangju, Gyeonggi Province. I hope all of you had a fantastic weekend as we saw very nice autumn-like weather. But it did start to get a bit chilly starting last night, which is continuing into this morning. Temperatures are at about 14 degrees Celsius, and we are starting off with clear but a bit of foggy skies as well. Now, later in the day, our highs are going to leap up about 10 degrees, making a significant gap between our highs and lows. Please be cautious in these weather conditions because our bodies are more vulnerable to catching a cold. Now, tomorrow, it looks like we will be receiving nationwide precipitation, which after the conditions do clear out, that means our lows are going to drop into the single digits. So do keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and take a check at the weather around Korea. Seoul's highs will reach to 23, Daegu at 27, Gangneung at 25, as the rest of the nation will peak up to 26 degrees. Now today we will be seeing clear conditions, but for tomorrow, don't forget to bring your umbrellas in the morning as we are expecting nationwide rain. I'll be back in the latter half.
And still ahead on Korea Today, Tim Bowler, recipient of the Carnegie Medal for Children's Books in Britain with his novel River Boy, has a never-ending passion for teenagers struggling to find themselves, and brought with him to Korea a special message encouraging the youth of Korea to keep their imaginations flowing.
Since it was designated in 2001 as a free international city, Jeju Island has been pushing to create an English education city, attracting several world-renowned schools from overseas. The first international school to open doors was North London Collegiate School, Jeju. And joining us this morning is the school's principal, Mr. Peter Daly. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and a pleasure to be here.
Right. And now tell us about the school. I know the home school in the UK has a rich history of 160 years.
That's right, yeah, 161 years, yeah, founded by Frances Mary Buss, who was a big educationalist back in the UK. She founded the school for girls only. So our school in Jeju is slightly different in its boarding and is a mixed school.
And I believe this is the first international branch, the school in Jeju. Why did you choose Jeju Island of all the potential places in Korea and around the world?
Yes, it is their first venture overseas, and they wanted to come into Asia because it's the happening place as we know it back in the UK. Really, it was the Korean government. The Korean government approached NLCS back in the UK. They obviously knew they had a tradition of success. It's a very prestigious school, very successful, and so really they were asked to come here and of course jumped at the opportunity. I know and they know and everybody knows that there is a real passion for education in Korea. For us, you're always top of all the league tables in terms of maths and science and English as well. So yes, it's a very attractive place to come because the people are so favourable towards education. They see it as so important. So yeah, a very, very important reason in coming out to Korea.
You'll see the first graduating class next year, and maybe share with us some of the most accomplished students that you've seen.
We have 56 students who are busily working towards their IB diploma, which is their pre-university.
Busy times,
yeah,
huh?
It's hard times for them, stressful, very demanding, but they're, as typical Korean students, they're rising to the challenge. They're writing their sort of college essays at the moment, putting their American and both UK sort of lists of colleges together. But yeah, they are outstanding students in many ways, and I think one thing that probably singles them out, a lot of them, is they have such great written English and such great spoken English. And I think it's to do with the immersion that they've had in the school. Because we're a boarding school, they're with us all the time. So it's not just in lessons where they speak English, they speak English outside of lessons. And they've made a positive attempt to do that. That's not been imposed by us. They've actually made that choice, and I think it really has will actually make them very, very different people and mark them out, particularly for universities, as people who have a much higher level of English than, say, most Korean students.
So most of the student body is Korean students, I get the feeling. Then there is that criticism that is it really a truly international school if most of the kids are from Korean natives. What do you have to say about that?
No, that's a very good point. We actually do have quite a divide. Our elementary school, junior school, is 80% Korean, and the senior school is 95%. But we are making really big inroads this year to changing that. It was always going to be the case that we had to appeal to the Korean market in the first 2 years of the school. The school was supported by the Korean government. One of the aims was to bring Koreans back from overseas and in fact deter them from going overseas for their education. So yes, it is mostly Korean at the moment, but as we go forward, we're looking to promote the school this year in places like China, Malaysia, Hong Kong. So we look to next year of having a much more diverse, properly, as you call it, international school, instead of saying a British Korean school.
And another criticism that international schools such as yours face is that it's schools for privileged kids, maybe. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah. I mean, I've read those headlines and seen that in the media, and it is a bit unfair. A lot of our parents make great sacrifices to send their children to our school. For them it's an investment, and it's something that they are prepared to use their savings for or to use their hard-earned wages and salaries for. So our children don't all come from very wealthy and well-off backgrounds. A lot of them are coming from a range of backgrounds, and it's much more diversified than, say, some people in the media have portrayed. If you are to send your child outside of Korea to the UK or to the US or anywhere, you've got the added costs there, which you haven't got in terms of sending them to Jeju.
And the students can be closer to their parents, for sure, right?
And that's quite important.
What are some of the efforts that you're making to ensure that the student body is more diverse, and also maybe efforts that you're taking to make sure this school is more accessible to other students?
Yeah. I mean, I'm working with JDC to try and provide as many scholarships and bursaries as possible for students, and that can be a range of different people who could qualify for that. We have some already for students to enable them to actually access the school, and that would be extended to people, say, on Jeju and on the mainland for a variety of purposes.
Okay, we're almost out of time, but just quickly, future plans for the school.
Well, future plans for the school, once we get this first graduating class through, and I expect big things from them, I do think they'll achieve very high IB grades, get to some of the best colleges in America and universities around the world. Once we have that established, I would really see NLCS Jeju as going on to be one of the best, if not the best, international school in the world.
You look very proud to have the first graduating class, almost like a proud father there. Congratulations and good luck in your future endeavors.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, and it was a pleasure to come onto your show today.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation.
Coming up on Korea Today, a transparent car makes an appearance in Seoul, an animation produced in Korea makes it into the Emmys, and Fact or Fiction, a lake that turns animals into stone. We take a look at the hottest internet clicks that are making waves.
The London Book Fair 2014 has designated Korea as the market focus for the book fair next year, highlighting the fact that Korea is one of the world's top 10 publishing markets. And ahead of this, the British Council Korea has invited 3 notable British authors to come to Korea and talk with the readers here.
And one of them was Tim Bowler. When you're talking about young adult literature, you cannot leave out that name. He's known for books such as River Boy, Shadows, and the Blade series, and practically created a sensation with his novels here in Korea. We'll get a chance to meet him now. British young adult literature author Tim Bowler became a household name when his novel River Boy won the Carnegie Medal, a prestigious British literary award against top-selling mega-hit J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter. This is Tim Bowler's 3rd visit to Korea, and this time he had a special request. He wished to meet with Korean teenagers face to face.
I'm very excited to meet him, so I hope he arrives soon.
River Boy is the first book I had ever read in English, so it means a lot. I remember it being a very dark and emotional story, a very memorable coming-of-age novel.
Tim Bowler visited a middle school in Seongnam, Gyeonggi Province. The students were ecstatic to meet with him. Why did Bowler want to meet with Korean youths?
I know that there are lots of students who read my books because I get emails from them. And since I started using Twitter 2 months ago, I'm starting to get tweets from them as well, which is lovely. I know that young people in Korea are incredibly busy, very, very hard pushed and driven. I would say the most important thing is always to try to create a private space inside yourself which belongs only to you. It's terribly important, I think, that each person, not just Korean teenagers, but all of us, myself, you, all of us, that even while we go about the rest of our busy lives, we preserve a sacred space inside ourselves. And that space is where our deepest dreams live, our deepest concerns and aspirations live.
Including in River Boy, many of Tim Bowler's novels portray a teenager as the protagonist. So we asked him why.
Teenagers go through very, very complex changes, especially between the ages of 13 and 16, 13 and 17. Those are very, very turbulent times. They're not children and they're not adults. There's sort of something in the middle. They're a child falling asleep and an adult waking up. They're like a work in progress. So from a writer's point of view, trying to write about someone in a coming-of-age situation like that, that is literally it. They are coming of age, but they're not there yet. So you're writing about someone in a stage of transition. And I think that's the challenge that I like about writing about teenagers. Yeah, I think that's the reason. It's very rewarding for me to write about teenagers, and I'm sure I shall carry on doing that.
Born in 1953, Tim Bowler is now in his 60s. However, he is well known for describing in detail the complicated psychology and emotions of a teenager.
And as a writer, that's what I'm aiming to do, really. I'm trying to identify with how young people might feel in that situation. I can't describe a young person's life, but if I can identify with the things that are permanent about life, the inner life of human beings, that hasn't changed ever. You know, the teenagers at the time of the Romans, teenagers at the times of the ancient Greeks, they had different cultural situations, of course, you know, totally different attitudes, but their inner lives, they would go through the same joys and fears and hang-ups and everything else that all of us felt when we were that age. So it's not that difficult to identify back to when you were that age. So yeah, that's how I go at it. I try to write about the inner life of kids and teenagers in a way that I hope has a truth to it. And I don't worry about all the details. I just try to get that essential part right.
Black and white is a common theme that appears in his novels. Why does he frequently use these contrasts? Also, we wanted to know what the teenage life of a famed young adult author was like, and what his light and darkness were.
That's a fantastic question. That's the kind of question I only ever get asked in Korea. You don't ask easy stuff. Well, I think, yes, I do agree with that statement that I made about light and darkness. I think in teenagers, this light and this darkness is perhaps more exacerbated, more powerfully expressed because they are so extreme in a way. In my own case, I had a very happy upbringing. I was happy at school. The light and the darkness, I suppose the light for me came from writing, came from friendship, came from a feeling of excitement about the future. The darkness came from, I lost my grandfather when I was 14. It came from fears about the future, fears as to whether I'd be able to achieve my goals, my dreams. Leaving all that behind, you're about to step out. So it's exciting, yes, light, joy. It's frightening, yes, darkness, fear. You see what I mean? It's both of those things. And so that was my own teenage experience.
Tim Bowler says he spent a normal childhood, but still became a writer, and wanted to tell people that you don't need to be crazy about writing to become a writer. And this is the final message he wanted to share with all teenagers.
You're full of dreams and full of energy and you're full of desires. I would say, you know, remember that you are special. You have a special magic of your own, and everybody else does. You're not better than anybody else, but you're not worse than anybody else. You're equal. Everybody is equal. But each person has his or her own special magic. I say, you know, the best use of your time, the best use of your life, surely, is to find your special quality, find that magic, and then share it with the world. Life is hopeful, life is possible, life is good. So I will try to tell them those things.
Life is good, right? Well, he met with the young readers and the parents of these young readers and told them that it's important not to coerce the children, especially teenage children, into reading classics. He confessed that he hated reading Shakespeare growing up too. Yes, and he said that reading should not be linked with achievement, and a child should be able to read whatever he or she wants.
Right. I mean, it's really impressive to see that he wanted to and did meet with some of the Korean students. I mean, for a lot of writers, if not all the writers, communicating with their readers perhaps gives them the most joy in what they do, and it's why they're doing that writing is to really share ideas and communicate, right?
That's right, and using those imaginations as well. You mentioned earlier in the program that only 30% of university students say that they don't read. Maybe it's not too late for them to go back and pick up a coming-of-age novel. Right? All right. Coming up in just a moment is Chun Sung Cho, and she'll have your hot clicks, which includes Emies, animals turning into stone, as well as Korean characters or cartoon characters getting Emmys.
Good morning, I'm Chun Sung Cho, and it's time for Hot Clicks. Not too long ago, I covered the story on the world's first invisible tower that's going to be built in Incheon, Gyeonggi Province. And this week, I'll tell you about an invisible car. This amazing sight will stop anyone in their tracks and make their jaws drop. You see that transparent car driving by? Even the online video of an event unveiling the invisible car received a lot of publicity. This car is actually made by a Korean tire company for a campaign to introduce even more advanced technologies for consumers to enjoy new driving experiences. Similar to the invisible tower, one side of the invisible car is covered in LED panels that project images taken by numerous cameras attached on the other side of the car. It's just pure digital magic. And this week, many online users have been talking about these strange photos of animals. It looks as though they have instantly turned into stone. These pictures were taken by famous photographer Nick Brandt at Lake Natron in Tanzania. According to him, the high levels of soda ash and salt in the lake are responsible for these uncanny deaths of animals. These unlucky animals that fall into the water get coated by salt and are perfectly preserved as they dry. And Brent was able to mold the corpses just enough so they looked like they were in living positions. Many online users have commented that these stone animals reminded them of Medusa in Greek mythology. And now let's move on to our next story. This YouTube video about a teenager who chose a rather extreme way to win his classmates' hearts is getting a lot of buzz online. Now this is the student who's running for class president. To show his fellow classmates his determination, he gives a daring performance. Although his classmates plead him to stop, he shaves his own head. So what happened to the election results? Let's take a look at what the person who uploaded this video wrote at the end. Ouch, that must have hurt, but at least he became the vice president, right? He certainly learned his lesson the hard way, that extreme ways don't always work. Okay, let's move on to our next story. And let's switch gears a little bit as I talk about these two animation characters adored by children in Korea. They are Pororo, the little penguin, and Larva. Recently, these two characters are getting the spotlight online because they have been nominated for the International Emmy Award, which is one of the world's most prestigious television awards. It's been 10 years since Pororo came to life, and from the beginning, it has absolutely dominated the animation industry and has been dubbed the president of children because children love Pororo like it's their religion. And though Larva is only 3 years old, it's become as popular as Pororo, the little penguin. Two strange worms, red and yellow, live under a grate in the sewers of New York City. The characters don't speak, and the animation is basically slapstick comedy that children and adults love, so Larva is quickly growing in popularity. Pororo, the little penguin, has been nominated for the kids preschool category, and Larva has been nominated for the kids animation category. So many are looking forward to see if their popularities will pay off in next February. And here's another video drawing some attention online. In hopes to receive publicity, this unknown actor filmed himself performing many different roles and posted it online. And thanks to this video that spread pretty fast on various internet sites, this previously unknown actor has now become semi-famous. So, shall we take a look at what he has to offer? He uses the same line, "I was a little suspicious, but it was interesting," but acting it out in different tones.
But it is bloody Interesting. There is indication that something weird is going on here. It is really, really exciting.
And apparently now he has his own fans, and I already can't wait to see him in movies or TV dramas in real life.
Wow, so he has like an instant demo tape that's just online there.
I don't think I can do any of those accents except for maybe the British accent.
Well, it's not bad, I must say.
Yeah, so normally or traditionally, actors are required to bring in a portfolio of 3 pictures, their headshot, upper body shot, and full body shot, along with a letter of self-introduction and a list of their past acting experiences. But I guess now they make videos themselves too.
Right, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this how Eugene of SES and Kong Min-ji of 21 got discovered in the first place?
Yes, definitely. I think that's how they make themselves really stand out among all the other competitors, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the entertainment industry. The competition in the overall job market is just getting severe and more severe, and you'll be amazed to see what some of the job applicants are sending in to get that one spot in the companies.
And the guy, the student we saw in the video had to shave his head to get elected, right? What some of these people would do to get elected and noticed.
Like one step further each and every single time, right? Just raising the bar for everyone.
Yeah, certainly. Videos are an effective tool to really give a strong impression to the viewers or to send out certain messages. And before we end today's segment, I want to show you one last video. It was mainly made by Korean students at the Berklee College of Music in Boston in hopes of bringing peace to the Korean peninsula. And they especially contacted our producer to bring it to our attention. It's quite something. So please enjoy it, and I'll see you next week.
That's the perfect tune for a Monday morning here.
That's right. All right, time now to check back on our Dami. We've been sending Dami to all kinds of farms and rice fields there is in this country, and now she is joining us from a pear farm.
That's right. You know, she makes this job look really easy, but before we had a chance to see Dami on camera before the show went on live, and we could see the fog coming out of her mouth, which means that it's rather cold over there. So we're going to check on what she's doing. Dami, over to you.
It is a bit chilly but bearable. I'm back reporting live from a pear farm located in Gwangju, Gyeonggi Province. Now, all the pears that are grown here are, grown in an eco-friendly environment. They say that pears are usually cultivated around mid-September to October. So if you haven't guessed already, I will be picking pears this morning. So let's get started. 그럼 시작해볼까요? So now when it comes to pears, they say that, go this way. Maybe a little help there. All right. They say the bigger, the better. And you want to make sure that the skin itself is nice and glossy. Right. Wow, these pears look so delicious. They're almost about as big as my face. Okay, so as we move along this way, I want to go ahead and show you a couple of recipes. But first, before I do, I want to taste some of the pears because they just look so good. It's really nice and juicy. It's so delicious. All right, but getting on with my work. Now here what we see is just some pear juice. Basically, pears are known to have aspartic acid, so it's kind of like a detoxification function. The next time that you have a hangover, then you want to get a pear, make some juice, and then gulp it down because it'll really help with relieving your symptoms. Now this right here is another recipe that is quite popular here in Korea. It's called Pear, and it's really popular during the winter time. So we have this Christmas plate. Now I want to go ahead and tell you the procedure. First, you want to cut off about 2 to 3 centimeters of the pear and make this lid. You want to scrape out everything and make it hollow. Then you add some ginger, some honey, and maybe if you want some jujubes as well. And then fill it up with the extracts or the pear fillings that you scraped out earlier. Put the lid back on and then you steam it for about 20-30 minutes or more. And then this is the final product, this right here. Now, it's great for those who have a cold, you're coughing or sneezing, anything like that. So I definitely recommend this recipe for those of you that have caught a cold. I mean, the weather is getting cold these days, so you might want to keep this recipe in handy. So that's all I have for today. This is your look at the Pear Farm in Gwangju, Gyeonggi Province. I'm Idami, Korea Today.
And a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off with the first round of the 2013 KBO postseason between the Doosan Bears and the Nexen Heroes. An incredible weekend for the Doosan Bears, beating the Nexen Heroes in 14 innings on Friday. They're coming back the next day to win again 2-1. Thanks to Choi Jae-hoon's 2-run shot. And later tonight, it's the decisive Game 5 of the series. Now, the Nexen Heroes are on the brink of an epic collapse after winning the first 2 games of the series. However, all 4 games have been very close with many errors and mistakes from both sides. But despite all that, the LG Twins are smiling as they await in the second round, hoping to face off against a team that's exhausted after playing 5 games. Meanwhile, the starting pitchers tonight, rookie sensation Yoo Hee-gun for the Doosan Bears and Brandon Knight for the Nexen Heroes. Moving on, if you're a football fan here in the nation, chances are you are pretty excited for the big match that took place this past weekend. It's because the Taeguk Warriors faced off against Brazil at the Seoul World Cup Stadium. Only things didn't look too good for Korea as they lost 2-0 to the Brazilians. Now, right before the end of the first half of the match, the Brazilian superstar Neymar scores a brilliant goal, giving the Brazilian side a 1-0 lead after the first half. Now, 4 minutes into the second half, it was Oscar who added the second goal, giving Brazil the 2-0 lead. However, for Koreans, several harsh plays on the night showed that Brazil was too much for the team. Now, of course, with the nation facing off against Mali tomorrow, manager Hong Myung-mo looks to utilize the same lineup he used against Brazil. Well, the 2013-2014 KBL season tipped off this past Saturday. On Sunday, of course, all 10 teams faced off once again. And taking a look at the results, Dongbu Promi beat the Orions 87-80. Samsung Thunders over Anyang KGC 88-78. And the LG Sakers beat the Itilan Elephants 86-84. So with that said, let's take a look at the other 2 games that took place, starting off with the KCC Aegis team taking on the SK Knights at Jeonju. Now, a close game in the first quarter of the game with KCC taking a slim 18-15 lead before going into the halftime with a 39-34 lead thanks to Tyler Wilkerson with 11 points, 10 rebounds just in the first half alone. By the third quarter of the game, KCC lighting it up, outscoring SK 21-9. Big game from Wilkerson, who would finish off the game with 18 points, 14 boards, with Park Young-sang adding 18 points and 7 assists in the game as KCC cruises through 79-60, your final score. And moving on, the Ulsan Mobis Phoebus taking on Busan KT Sonic Boom in Busan. KT taking a nice 27-15 lead in the first quarter, but Mobis bounces back in the second quarter, outscoring KT 25-17 as they cut the deficit to 44-40 after the first half. By the second half of the game, here is Mobis taking control from the paint, ties it up going into the fourth quarter of the game. And despite a big game from KT's Anthony Richardson scoring 26.6 boards, Rod Benson and Ham Ji-yoon combined for 38 points as Mobis rallies back to win this one, 78-69. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
This coming Saturday is Culture Day here in Korea. So in the days leading up to this Culture Day, we're going to bring you a series of reports on culture and Korea.
That's right. We'll get a look at which cultural contents are becoming increasingly popular around the world, and also what kind of support there is for the producers of these cultural contents.
Culture is leading Korea into the 21st century. In fact, it's not an overstatement to say it has become the core of the country's global competitiveness. So let's take a look at some unique ideas that are spreading Korean culture around the world. K-pop is leading the global Hallyu boom. It is playing an important role in rapidly spreading Korea's culture to the world. This is the power of culture. The popularity of Hallyu has further increased since Psy's Gangnam Style became a global sensation last year. The growing number of global smartphone users has also allowed for the export of various Korean cultural contents. This year, sales for Korean media contents is expected to hit roughly $931 billion. With the growing interest in Hallyu, other Korean cultural content such as animations, characters, and webtoons are also gaining attention and creating a new Hallyu boom. An example of a successful Korean cultural content is the very popular children's animation Boruto, the Little Penguin. This beloved animation is a crowd pleaser for children all over the world and made Korea one of the top 5 animation producers in the world. Earlier this year, Pororo the movie was shown on 6,000 screens in China, becoming a major success.
Not only do children in Korea watch Pororo the Little Penguin, children all over the world are enjoying it as well. We try to produce a show that is relatable and enjoyable for all.
Korean, Chinese,
No!
English,
The hero, you're the villain!
and even Spanish, Pororo the Little Penguin is produced in many languages, exported to 170 countries, and is loved by many children around the world. Pororo the Little Penguin received international recognition for its success, earning $5.3 billion. Thanks to its major accomplishment, the Korean media contents industry is being viewed as the next leading economic growth engine.
The Chinese market is receiving Pororo the Little Penguin very well because it is entertaining and educational. These qualities have allowed Pororo the Little Penguin to successfully enter the Chinese market.
The new Hallyu wave is sweeping across China. This is Wangfujing Street in Beijing. It's considered the Myeongdong of China, and so we took a look at just how popular Korean cultural contents have become here. And how do Chinese children react to Pororo the Little Penguin?
你再说一遍，它叫什么名字？
Pororo
波鲁鲁，波乐乐。
就是拿影城，然后放那个看的一个瓶子上。这次6一节刚好是双休嘛，他们也是提前过了。
The popularity of Korean cultural contents is noticeable not only here, but also in Chinese households. This 6-year-old Chinese boy is watching Pororo the Little Penguin.
你每天看波罗罗吗？
我每天看Pororo 1个小时。
Pororo can easily be spotted in people's everyday lives. Love for Pororo can be seen here and there all around the house, from cups, dolls, hats, and stationery. In China, the popularity is immense.
这个是它的颜色很漂亮，然后它又调皮，又很聪明，又很可爱。
Recently, it's being used to teach the Korean language. By using these media contents, foreigners naturally become curious about Korean culture.
这个应该更学得更那什么，在韩国读研究生。
Based on the new Hallyu boom, many Chinese businessmen are exchanging and collaborating with Korean cultural content creators. The Korean animation Titi Bang Bang Rescue collaborated with the China Film Group Corporation, an influential state-run film enterprise, and earned notable success in the market. In 2011, it was first aired on China's state-run broadcast station CCTV.
Children like it because of its bright colors and pretty characters.
Each of the Korean characters is unique and adorable when compared to other animation characters.
Merchandising these characters also has a strong impact.
When you develop a character into a brand, it allows you to merchandise products, which builds popularity and a bonding relationship with your audience.
Many foreigners are noticing Korea's ability to create quality content, so many hope for collaboration and exchanges with Korea.
Along with these trends, many Korean top-quality content creators are finding opportunities in the global market. In particular, webtoons are highly competitive in the global market. Recently, a Korean webtoon became so popular in China, it's now available on major Chinese web portals and smartphones.
I translate Korean animations to Chinese and insert the text.
Despite it being a pay-per-view service, its popularity is unrivaled. The key to its success is Korea's unique cultural content.
Webtoons don't exist in China, so we entered the Chinese market to introduce Korean animation content. We are confident this will become another Hallyu sensation.
To better develop Korean cultural contents with added value, there are plans to build a lab that offers systematic support to help materialize creativity into cultural content.
There needs to be technical support to transform creativity into content. So we hope to organize more support for our creative talent and help them establish startup companies that can lead the next generation of Hallyu contents.
This is a children's clothing store in Yongin, Gyeonggi Province, Korea. There are many other clothes stores nearby, but only this one is bustling with customers. It's especially popular with children. The reason being, they offer clothes with unique characters that children love.
These days, customers want stylish children's clothes. I come here often because they have pretty clothes with adorable characters.
The reason why the industry was able to gain a foothold is thanks to the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism's financial aid for one-person startups. This is because it can be very difficult to do business, even if you have a great idea and talent.
Distribution and marketing cost a lot of money, so I had some financial difficulties getting my business running.
Business was slow in the beginning, but now that it's blooming, Kim Jung-sun is thinking about going global. Last year, Kim's company brought in $5.6 million in sales.
There was a lot of demand for our products in China. I think they were more passionate about our stories and characters.
Culture created from unlimited creativity. Efforts to further develop contents rich with the country's personality will continue.
I'm telling you, Boruto really rules, and he should win the Emmy Award, in my opinion.
Well, I hope one of those characters do, whether it be Larva or Boruto. That's why they call Boruto Botongyang.
That's right, with a capital B.
The children's president. Don't worry, because one of these days we'll have Minjung, Hyungyang, and Young Kim characters.
Are you sure about that?
Well, no, I don't know if I want one.
It's going to be really difficult to come up with a character that will top Boruto, though.
That's
I think that'll be a
That's
difficult
true.
job.
We'll work on that. Right? All right, that brings us to the end of this edition of Korea Today.
Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 7.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.